Well, it's hard to believe that it's Tuesday already again. So I'm back with the Rubber Buggy Design Team project. Every Tuesday I try to do a project for the Rubber Buggy. Last week I didn't have a video, but I made this card and you can check it out on the Rubber Buggy Facebook page. And if you're part of the Rubber Buggy Brigade group, you can see all kinds of projects that we all make throughout the week. So this week I thought I would play with this Indigoblu Mixed Media Special 6, and this is in the shop, and what it is, it's like a magazine and crafting kit all in one. So let's go ahead. I've already undone the tape so we can open it, and I've took a look at everything because I wanted to see. I had never gotten one of these kits before, but I wanted to give it a try. So you get several things to create with. First off, you get the magazine, and there's tons of instructions in here on creating different cards. And if you don't create cards, you could use these. What I'm going to use some of them for are cards, but I'm thinking they would make great journaling cards, or they would make great pages for ideas for a small journal. So there's so many different things in here. I have been looking through it, just looking for ideas, and I love everything I see, and I want to try every one of them, but I don't have time to do all that today. So we'll show you. Do have the magazine, and then it comes with some of the papers that they use in some of the projects. Of course, it doesn't come with everything you're going to need. You're going to need some from your stash, like some ink pads, some acrylic paints. You're going to need, let's see, probably some embossing powder. I can't remember what all you'll need. And you might want to bring in your own papers. You'll also need to bring in some watercolor paper and some other card stocks to make your card, and then card bases and things like that. But you do get the paper to decorate up to do some of these projects. You also get this entire pack here. And so you get 2 rolls of washi tape, 2 little small rolls of that, and then you get all of these things. So I'm not sure how many it is, but you get several sheets of stickers, and they're all the same. It's 4 sheets. And so it's just the sayings that you can use to put on your cards or your journaling cards. And you also get a die, and this is just going to add a little texture to our cards. You get a stencil, and the stencil comes with 3 different little stencils on it. You have this design, and then you have a corner design, and then you have like a dandelion or a little flower. And then you get this large stamp set. So you get all these sayings here, just to say, a good length laugh is like sunshine in nature, hello, thank you. Another big saying here, and another one here. You also get several different flower stamps. You get like the dandelion and the little grass piece, and this looks like another little wisp of dandelions here. You get leaves. You also get some background stamps. I love background stamps. You get those right there. You get the dots, and then this is texture here. You also get this foxglove stamp, and it's a foxglove flower there. And then there's just a lot of texture and stuff in the background. You can use that as your background stamp as well. And so it all kind of goes together too, because you can see some of that's in this stamp is also in the washi. So it's really cool. You get all of these things to work with, and then you have all the ideas of ways to use it. Well, knowing me, I can't follow directions and do exactly like someone says. I always have to change things up. But when I was looking at this, let me see if I can find the page. I should have marked it before I got started. But I saw a card that I liked, but I wanted to change it up. I love the technique that they use to create these flowers, but in my mind, I feel like it needs to be a wreath. So I'm going to try to make mine into a wreath, like a circle, and I'm not sure what else different I'll do, but then I want to use this technique that they use to create these flowers, but I can't find my watercolor paper, and you need watercolor cardstock for that. So we're going to try it with mixed media paper. I have a pack of mixed media. Let me get this down. This is just a pack of mixed media paper that I have. And so I normally have watercolor paper in a pack like that as well, but I can't find it. And I searched my craft room, so let's just try it on mixed media paper. Let's see if it works out and see what we come up with. It also says, so it gives you instructions here, and it says you're going to need the kit, and then you'll need some watercolor cardstock. You'll need some white 15cm square card blank. Now this is from, I can't remember where Indigoblu is located. I did know until I went to say, but it is in Europe, I do believe. So They're going to be using centimeters, but you can, if you have any rulers, most of the time we'll convert that for you. Then it says here you need marshmallow, banana custard, burning bonfire, and Kew Garden Set matte acrylic paint. Well, I don't have those, so I'm just going to use what I have. So that's why I said you're going to pull from your stock to do this. So you can look here. It's some yellows and a purple and kind of an orangish yellow. So I'm going to pull from my stash and do the same thing, but use the colors that I have. It also says you need acetate, black VersaFine Clair ink pad, superfine embossing glaze, and then heat tool. I'm going to be using whatever I have in my stock, not the exact same thing, but I'll show you as we go along. So to start with, let's do the technique to do these, make these flowers. Okay, so I'm going to set the magazine aside so I don't get it covered in paint, but I'll have it over here to refer to. So for the acetate, we're just needing it for the technique, so it's not going to be used in the actual project. I'm just using a piece of plastic. It's kind of like acetate. It may be considered acetate, but it's a thinner one, like your Ciao Bella stencils come in, something like that. And so that's what I'm using to do the paint technique. So, and then I have my mixed media paper. So let's get this here. And I think I'm going to cut the paper down first, since I'm not going to need this large sheet, and that way I can smush it onto this acetate. So what we do is you take, and let me find my book to make sure I follow along exactly. I've done something similar with watercolors, but I've never done this with acrylic paints that I can remember. I may have sometime or another, but we're just going to start putting our paints down onto our acetate. And let's just, I don't, like I said, have the exact, so what I'm using is just King's Gold. And you just can use whatever. We have paints in the Rubber Buggy shop as well. I didn't order any this time, so I'm just going to use what I have here because I wasn't sure what colors, I needed for the project. So, and this, like I said at the beginning, is my design team project for the Rubber Buggy. And so these products were sent to me by the Rubber Buggy. But I choose the products, and I always give an honest review of how I feel about the products that I choose and that I use, because I don't want to show anything that I wouldn't use myself. And I really like this. Even this magazine, I've been reading through it. It gives you just like this one. This project is inspired by this magazine, but my project in my head is going to be different. Who knows what I'll come up with? But let me show you this first. We smushed this onto it. So I just added water to our acrylic paint, and then we're just going to smush it onto our paper. Oops. And just get different. We're not trying to do anything smooth or anything. We're just trying to get just different textures around. And I love doing stuff like this. I probably should have put something down on my mat beforehand. So here is some of the texture we're getting. So now it says to, you keep adding your different paints, and I guess I could wipe it off, but I think I'm just going to add my different colors and see what I get. Here's some purple. They're doing like a pinkish purple in theirs. I'm just going to use this purple because that's what I have. Like I said, let's just use what we have and what's in the kit to create these. Since this project doesn't really require the paper that's in the kit, we can do whatever we want. And this yellow is going to brighten this purple up just a little anyway. And so I'm just mixing the water in and smushing it around. And see, when it mixes in these colors, you're going to get other colors as well. Now it does say to let this be dry before we do the next color, so I'm just going to use my heat tool and dry it real quick. I forgot to do that before I started mixing the paint. So that's pretty much dry enough. So now I'm just going to smush into the purple some. And I think I forgot, I was talking and then I started working on the project. What I was saying about the magazine, I think this magazine, after looking through it, is great for, I think I need to add more water. I think it's great for the beginner, because you can learn, different techniques. But then it's also great for those who've been making cards for a while and crafting for a while, because you can learn different techniques and learn different things to do. It also just gives you something to inspire you to create. For me, it does. It gets my ideas going, and even though I look at one thing, I have another idea when I see it. So that's what I love about things like this that give you, give you ideas, and you don't have to follow instructions. Like I said, to a T. You can do however or follow instructions completely. You can just do whatever you want to use, but kind of the same techniques to try it out. So I am loving that. Let me get this where you can see it, and then we'll use my heat tool to dry it. But I am loving that piece of paper. That's looking very pretty. So all that was is just smushing onto some acrylic plastic here, acrylic sheet, and just smushing our acrylic paint with some basic water. Okay, so I love this. So now it says that we're supposed to, ooh, I just set my heat tool down in the paint. So now we're supposed to use some of the background stamps onto this. So let's get the stamps. Let's see what it says. Yes, it is the background stamp. So we have a background stamp here. We'll grab that one. And we have this one. I'm not sure if I want to use that one or just this one right here. I think I may just go with this one. 2 background stamps. We'll see what it looks like, and if we need to add more, we'll add more. So I'm just going to go over into the paint, and I'm just going to dip my stamp over in it and then just stamp onto the page. It's just adding a little texture there. Then we just adding a little bit around, and you can kind of see it. Just need to wipe this up right here, and then I need to add, just wipe this up, and then we'll add some more paint to it since that had water in it. Maybe we're not supposed to have as much water. I don't normally use acrylic paint in my stamps. I always use stamp pads, so we'll see what this is like. We're trying new techniques today. I'm going to do all 3 colors, the dark yellow, the light yellow, and then the purple. That's what I went with, was just, and then I'm just going to smear it around a little bit. And even if my colors get mixed in, that's okay. Just smear it around a little bit to get myself a place to stamp my, didn't want to mix that purple too much, but that's all right. So then we'll just stamp it into it. And we'll just add some stamping onto the page. You're not going to get the same kind of prints that you get when you are stamping with your ink pads, but it does add texture to the background. See that? That's looking good. I think I want to add just a little bit up here, and this I'm going to have to clean my mat after this because I'm stamping off onto my mat. So that gave a little texture to it, and then let's go back, and it's not gorgeous right now, but I think it's going to be really nice when we go to put all this together. So I'm just going to put a little bit there, maybe a bit here, and here. Just mix it up a little bit. Remember, we're going to cut this into pieces, so we're not going to leave this as one big piece either. We're just getting some background on there. So we're going to let that dry, and then we are going to stamp our flowers on. So I'm going to just get this dry, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so it's totally dry now. So the next step is to stamp the flowers onto our background. So I'm going to be using 2 of the flowers. We have 2 kind of matching flowers in the stamp set. So I'm going to use those to stamp. I'm going to use what I have on hand, but I will link to 2 embossing powders that we have in the shop. And I don't know if we have any of this Memento ink, but I'm sure we have some sort of black ink in the shop. So I'm just going to stamp it with the black ink. Actually, I'm going to get a piece of scrap paper. I have not stamped this. This is brand new. And I like to stamp my stamps when I first get them. So I'm just going to reach over and stamp on a piece of scrap paper, because I feel like you have to stamp them a few times so that you get a good impression. So I'm just going to do that. And then just going to stamp onto the paper. And then I'm just going to add some of the embossing powder to see how it does. And I guess you need to make sure your paper is totally dry for this, because I think it would stick to whatever's wet. Let's just test this one to see if I like that ink color and the embossing powder together. So I think that's pretty, but I'm thinking I need to buy a refill for this one. I think that my ink is just too light. Let me see if I can get a darker impression. I know what I'll do. Let me get my stamp press. And I will stamp it with my stamp press so I can get, because then you can just continue to stamp it until you get your dark impression, because my ink pad is getting low. So I do need to check the shop and see if I can get me a refill. Okay, and then we're going to put our stamp onto the, trying to figure out which side I'm supposed to put it on. I think this is correct. Yes. My brain wasn't working today. Oops, I don't want to waste my paper, so I'm just going to pull it down, see where I want to put it, and I'll slide the paper where I need it to be, because I don't want to waste my background paper. Let's just slide it. Oh, oops. I know, seems silly, doesn't it? There we go. We'll just get some more ink and stamp it again. I think that you could just stamp it without this press if your ink pad was newer than mine, but mine has been using it for quite some time. But ooh, I like that. That's getting dark enough like I want it, because you do want it to show up from, you know, from this background, because the background, you know, is very busy. So we do want our flower to show up. So I'm just going to add a little bit of clear embossing powder on top of it now, and then I'll heat it up and we'll see how it looks. Oh wow, that's gorgeous. So that's what I'm going to go through. I'm going to stamp the flowers. I'm going to use both of the flower stamps, and then I'll come back to you. I'm going to stamp them and heat emboss them, and then I'll come back and we will do the next step. So I have all of the images stamped, and I have done the embossing glaze on them. So now I'm just going to go and trim them out. I'm just going to fussy cut them, and then I'll come back and we'll work on the card. So I have the flowers all trimmed out and ready to go, and I also went ahead and I'm changing the sentiment. Then, so here is the magazine picture again, our inspiration. It's the card that's inspiring us to create. I'm creating just a little bit different, and so I've decided to use a different sentiment from the stamp set, but this is in the stamp set as well. And then it says for our matte layer, we're supposed to take the 3 paint colors that we used on our flowers, and we're just going to paint along the edges of this card. Okay, so I've been playing around with some of the paint colors, trying to figure out how I want to do the matte piece. So in the magazine, it says to do the matte piece, you use the same 3 colors along just the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to do it the same as we did before. I tried painting it on. I don't like that. So I'm going, even that this paper is dried, my paint has got really goopy on there, so I'm going to use this this parchment paper here, and we're going to do the same thing that we did at the very beginning. So I'm just going to put down my one of my yellows first, and then I'm just going to add some water to it. And let's see if I got a paintbrush for the yellow, and just kind of mix that around. And then we're going to smush in mainly the edge of our paper, and I'm using the mixed media paper again because that's what it picked up the color really good last time with, you know, when I used it for the flowers. So I want to use it again, and this is looking quite messy, but we'll see, because I'm trying to just keep it on the edge, but we'll see what happens. We can always cut us another piece. Now I wonder what this would do with watercolor. I bet you it would soak in and do so much better with watercolor, because it would spread out. Watercolor paper, I mean, not watercolor, but the watercolor paper. But I still can't find mine. So we're going to continue to use the mixed media paper and see what we get. Just trying to do the edges, but I am making a huge mess. I am liking how it's looking though. So I think I need to go ahead and dry the yellow, and then we'll add the purple. So I didn't really dry it in between the two yellows, but I'm drying it in between the purple and the yellow, and that's because I don't want them to mix up too much and just create like a mud look. I want to keep my, keep my purple in there. And so I'm just going to add a little purple here. I may need to do a little bit more, but I'm just trying to get it on the edges anyway, so I'm just going to go through and just tap some of the edges in, just random. I can't even see where I'm putting it. I've got the paper turned down. I'm just going to randomly put it on. And then, let's see here. This is probably not how they did it for the magazine. I'm just getting a little messier here, but I just want to see. And I'm just going to take my finger and smooth just a little bit of that out. Nothing says we can't use our fingers, does it? I think it's one of our best tools when we're using mixed media products. So I kind of like that. I have no idea what it's going to look like as my matte, but I do like it. So I'm just going to dry it now, and then we're going to do the next step, which is stamping it. Okay, so I have a piece of scrap paper here that we're going to stamp off on. And so it says that we need to get our foxglove, I think that's what you call it, foxglove stamp. It's got the foxglove flower going down through the middle. Oops, I'm making a lot of noise now. What I'm doing is trying to pull this stamp off. It's a very large stamp. I'm trying to pull it off of the plastic. I'm going to use my larger stamping block. Even though it's too big for it, it'll still. So what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to just use the edges of this stamp to stamp around the edges of the frame, the matte piece. But first I'm just going to stamp this stamp, because when you first get your stamps, it takes a few times stamping it to get it going good. Now I have it upside down, so I need to keep that in mind. So now I'm just going to use this edge, and actually I'm not going to put it on the block. I think that I'm just going to use my fingers and see if I can do it that way. Just ink it up really good, and then we're just going to put it along the edge of the paper, because we're not trying for a perfect stamping anyway. So let's see what we get. Oh, that looks good. And then we'll just do some of the top here. I just can't hold on to it. I guess I will use my blocks just so I can hold on to it. It's such a big stamp. Let's just stamp a little here. There we go. And maybe some right in here. Okay, that's looking good. Which side have I not used now? I'm trying to see. I think I haven't used this side. So let's try it. Right in there. Oh, I like that. That is looking good. So I think we have enough on there. Maybe just a little bit up the top here. There we go. I know that looks crazy busy, but we're going to cover that up anyway, most of it. So let's take, and here's our cardstock. I just cut some regular white cardstock to put inside there. And I'm trying to decide, do I want it to be even smaller so that more of our piece shows? Because let me cut it down and see. I do like that better. So I really do love this as a matte. So now let's just start arranging our flowers maybe how we want them. It may take a few tries to get it right, but we'll just arrange them and see. You don't want them all to be, underneath each other, but you don't want them. You just kind of want to have some over, some under, just kind of scattered about. Kind of have a random look to it, I think. It's better. Now my paper is a little bit smaller than the paper I think that was in the instructions in the magazine. So it doesn't really tell you how to do this part. You just kind of do what you like on this part. So that's what I am doing. Just arranging different ones, different ways. So here we go. I kind of like that. Kind of slide it down the card a little bit though, so it's kind of even on the top and bottom. I do like that. And then I have the sentiment that we're going to put across here. I'm just trying to decide for the sentiment, do I need to keep it white? Do I want to keep it white, or do I want to come in with a little bit of some sort of ink and ink it? I'm not sure. Well, while I'm thinking about what I wanted to do with the sentiment, let's go ahead and glue these flowers down. So I'm just going to leave them where they are and just slowly work my way around tacking them down so that I don't rearrange them much, because I kind of want them exactly how I have them. But that's going to be hard to do. And when I glue them down, I'm going to glue the centers and, you know, coming out some of the leaves, but I really am not going to glue, just let me make sure that looks right. I'm going to let them curl up some to give it a little bit more dimension. So let me see here if I can just slowly put these together. There's probably a better way for this, but this is the only way my brain does it. So, just so we don't get these totally messed up. So here is the inspiration card, and then here is my card. And I really love the technique. I thought this was a fun way to color in the flowers without having to color them in with markers or anything. And I love how they turned out. You can see that mine are different colors than this one, because like I told you, I didn't have those exact paints, but I still love how it turned out. And I did mine a bit different in the size of the mat and the front piece, and I did that on purpose. I just wanted to see more of this design that I had created. And then I decided I wanted a full wreath instead of a half wreath, which I like this one too. And so, like I said, because I try something different doesn't mean that I don't like that card. I like that card. I just wanted to try something a little different for my own. And I do like how it turned out. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button and let me know that you enjoyed it, and you can comment below as well and let me know if you'd like me to create some other projects with some of the items that came with this magazine. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.